Hold tight, scream if you want to go faster. What's going on, guys, and welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. As always, mate, I do hope you're doing well. I really do hope that. Chelsea through to another semi-final, and, not without turbulence, but that's how we operate best. Today, and this is a Chelsea video. A Chelsea video? A Chelsea news video. Still recovering. Not quite over my sickness yet. Lots of stuff. Lots of talking points, actually, at the moment regarding Chelsea. Maybe I'll reference the Prime Minister's comments, but I'm not sure I want to go down that road at the moment. But a little Estevao update. One Brazilian to another. Could Thiago Silva return immediately? Because he's a free agent. And should we do that? We can speculate. Nazar Kinsella on the Stamford Bridge situation with Earl's Court. And finally, Simon Johnson, just today, actually, has done an updated article on the Enzo Maresca situation. Of course, still not happy, despite a 3-1 away win in Cardiff in the Cup yesterday. He's still sort of like, those journalists, mate, they do my head in. They were like, why aren't you smiling? Why aren't you happy, mate? And he sort of like laughs and smiles. There's a smile. It's a little bit like, shut up, you silly knobber. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, welcome back to the channel. I'm delighted to have you here with me. If you want to support the content, you are most welcome to. Just like and subscribe if you're here on YouTube. It's obviously also now available on podcast platforms. Follow and 5-star. And share if you want to and support me, and we can all grow together and keep this football therapy community ticking along nicely as we try and reflect in a balanced way on Chelsea Football Club and have a little bit of fun. Now, I must tell you, I've just had a huge Subway and my stomach is pressing against the belt of my jeans, so I'm going to pause this recording and go and put some sweats on. That's better, mate. I can speak freely now. My belt has gone. Right. We're going to get straight into it then. Update from Football.London. Bobby Vincent. Estevao, of course, who wasn't in the squad yesterday. I thought he was like an illness. Apparently, it's a small muscle problem. He not only did he miss the midweek game last night, the midweek win, the midweek qualification victory, but he will also miss Newcastle away, of course, Saturday early kickoff. Tough game. I know they're stinking it up in the league a little bit, the Toon, but they'll be looking to have a good atmosphere and slap Chelsea up. And he is a weapon, Estevao. So, he, even if he's not starting over the likes of Pedro Neto at the moment, he will absolutely be missed. But he's back and available. That boy, Cole Palmer, fully fit and rested, so he will start that game. And I'm hoping he can play 90. Maybe that's too much to ask. Maybe he plays certainly more than 57 minutes. I'm hoping he can play 60 odd or whatever. Because he's a senior good player despite being quite young. Speaking of senior good players, many of you would have seen this. Thiago Silva. Let's call him a club legend. Thiago Silva, who of course his family still lives in London. He has been away playing in Brazil for his boyhood club Fluminense. But he's now a free agent and he's looking to return to play at the highest level or as high as he can in Europe so he can be taken to the World Cup with Ancelotti's Brazil in the summer. And despite being a Brazilian legend and playing at a high level recently, but Brazilian league's not the highest level, but, he's playing for Chelsea for a long, long time until he was 40. That's a high level and being relied upon as well. Is he 41 now? How old is Thiago Silva? I think he might be 40. He is 41. I think he will turn 42 at the beginning of next season. So he'll be very close to 42 when the World Cup is on. Not young. He's not young, but he's the boy. Look, so everyone's going, bring him back. John Terry did a TikTok upload saying, look, I'd love to get Thiago Silva back at Chelsea. The truth is, defensively, when we've got our first choice boys and we've been pretty good, I'd be very interested to hear Enzo Maresca's opinion on bringing in Thiago Silva. Now, I'm just reading off the Chelsea Chronicle. Jack Drury. Wow, that's a hard name to say, isn't it? Spoke about, of course, he's available as a free agent. He wants to return to Europe to play at as high levels as he can. So he won't start for Brazil in the summer, but, you know, he'll be the captain of the squad if he gets called up to go with them and, you know, playing football. Cy Phillips said in this Substack that unless Chelsea part ways with a centre-back in January, they're unlikely to strike a deal with Silva. I mean, I wonder if that does count Axel Disasi. But apparently, sources understand that Silva has communicated he would return as a Chelsea player next month, and would even come back on a wage packet that would suit the rest of the squad and the current structure. So he'd come in and he can't have been getting paid much at Fluminense. I wonder if Chelsea said to him, "Yeah, come back. We'll give you." I mean, he's Thiago Silva, so you don't want to disrespect him with like an academy wage. But if you were like, we'll give you a 6-month deal and we'll pay you £50,000 a week or something. I mean, he gets to move back, spend Christmas with his family, and be around elite football and get paid 50k a week for the. Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like a bad deal. Of course, a lot of people were sort of saying, well, just bring him back. Just bring him back as a coach. You know, it's easier said than done. Enzo Maresca has his coaching team. You know, as much as he might respect Thiago Silva, it's not just like, it's so easy for us to be like, bring JT in, bring Thiago Silva in. You know, it doesn't work like that. These are still people who have like jobs and relationships, and you don't just throw someone in just because you like them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want Thiago Silva, but I get it. And look, the truth is, he's not coming back to Europe to be a coach and just, I mean, yeah, he wants to be around his family and he loves Chelsea. And I'm sure the idea of just being around Chelsea is nice for him. But he wants to play for 6 months in Europe so that he's sharp for one, let's be real, definitely one last hurrah with the national team in the summer, and he'll be, you know, about to turn 42. He won't be starting for them, but maybe he can be part of the group. Maybe he can come on and play minutes. Maybe he'll start. You know, it might be doing him a disservice. He's still frigging Thiago Silva, who, you know, he probably looks younger than me, despite being frigging 5 years older. So maybe. But look, in terms of, because he can play on the left. If someone said to me, I mean, obviously, I don't think you can Axel Disasi. It's obviously the current squad players. But if it's like Badiashile has got a high level offer, do you want to bring in, you know, Thiago Silva? No, Tosin. Because Tosin plays in this. Oh my God! He's a Tosin replacement. Sell Tosin. No offense, bro. Thank you for your service. Nothing against you, but, you know, I'm concerned about your level. Tosin, in possession, don't want to get too nerdy on you guys here, but in possession, Chelsea play a back three, and Tosin plays the centre-back. Thiago Silva won the Champions League for Chelsea, playing the centre-back in a back three, and actually, it's the, you know, I was literally just listening to the Athletic Football podcast talk about a back three, and how the centre of the back three needs to be the older head. Carl Anker was speaking about, he interviewed Phil Jones, who laughed at you on, he's still an experienced centre-back, and he explained when playing in the back three, you need the senior head there. That's probably why Tosin's playing there. In a rotational circumstance, in possession, when we have a shape of a back three, if someone said to, you know, all Chelsea fans, who would you rather have there right now, Thiago Silva or Tosin? You know, obviously you try and think, well, Thiago Silva's literally is in his 42nd year of life, and Tosin's 28 and he's younger and fitter. I still would think over 95% of Chelsea fans would say Thiago Silva, please. Obviously, look, this is just theorizing. This is me playing real life FIFA. As much as Tosin's played bad, he knows how Maresca wants to play. He's got 18 months of Maresca understanding it deeply. You know, he's, like I said, he is younger, yes, yada, yada, yada. You can't just assume Maresca would want to swap him. But at the same time, it is Thiago Silva, and at the same time, Thiago Silva is really intelligent. He's got a coach's mind, so Maresca might like that. And he will obviously Thiago Silva speaks 3 languages that Maresca speaks, none of them being English, but he speaks Spanish, French, and Italian. I think he speaks Spanish. I'm just assuming that because he's Brazilian. But he certainly speaks, because Brazilian Portuguese are Portuguese, they usually understand a lot of Spanish. But he speaks fluent Italian and French. So Maresca speaks fluent Italian. He is Italian, and he speaks very good conversational French. So I reckon they'd have, really good conversations tactically, and he'd be able to get a quick understanding of what Maresca wants. I've talked myself into it. I would take Thiago Silva back at Chelsea, and I would sell Tosin for pure profit because he was a free transfer. I'm very pleased for your service, Tosin. You won a couple of trophies with us. Why don't you go and play for Brentford? Yeah? Have a nice time at Brentford. Stay in London. Be a starter. Be a leader. And, we'll always have America together. Right. We're going to talk about the stadium next. One moment. Hokey cokey. So I'm reading a post on X off the BBC's football correspondent Nizar Kinsella. Good guy Naz. He's wrote and posted the following. Kensington and Chelsea Council have approved the Earls Court development, which now of course makes it very unlikely Chelsea Football Club can acquire that site for redevelopment. Todd Bowley's Earls Court dream is dead. That's what's happening here, ladies and gentlemen. Hammersmith and Fulham also approved the ECDC project. Great band. It means that the Mayor of London just now needs to rubber stamp it, but the biggest hurdles have been overcome. My read is that, so this of course is the opinion of Nizar Kinsella. For Chelsea, it makes staying at Stamford Bridge, knocking down the current stadium and rebuilding it to a bigger 60,000 capacity will most likely be the main viable option. It would also mean several seasons at a temporary stadium, most probably Wembley Stadium. Club are still exploring all options. Well, what are all options? Stadium shares, obviously, you could talk about. It's really nice. It is the Cottage, and they've redeveloped it, and it's a lovely part of London. It's really close to Stamford Bridge, Putney, yada, yada, yada. It's too small. It's too small for the Chelsea fan base, and it might be conflicting if, not obviously home and away, you could say. So every week there would be a game at the Cottage rather than every other week. But what if you get cup games and it's not big enough, man. Obviously Twickenham has been talked about before. It would be Wembley. Wembley would want the money. I don't like it. I've watched a few Chelsea Cup finals at Wembley. I think it's not great. Obviously, Tottenham had a weird time there when they were there, didn't they? It's not the best atmosphere, and you'd be there for years, bro. Years. It's not like you'd be there for like 18 months. I could stomach that, but like 4 seasons or something playing at Wembley is a sickener. You don't want to think about that. So that's tough. The other thing is, I think Liverpool did this, but stand by stand. You knock down one stand, you rebuild it, while you keep the other 3 open, and that causes more problems. Not only does it make the atmosphere worse, and there's problem for season ticket holders, the finished product is never as good of, you just knocking down the whole stadium and rebuilding a purpose-built. I think, actually, obviously, since buying those properties next to Stamford Bridge, they can actually build a nice 60,000 capacity where they are. It's just really tough to build. For those of you who've been down the Fulham Road and at Chelsea, and you'll know how tough it is, because it's an amazing real estate, amazing location, but makes it really redundantly hard to build, especially to smash everything down and start again. But yeah, what they do is, you can imagine where Stamford Bridge is now is, you would knock down the current shape, turn it 90 degrees to expand into that extended space and make it a lot bigger. And of course, they'd purpose built. They'd make the area nicer. They want it more of a fan park and more Americanized. And to be honest, that's the right thing to do. That's the correct thing to do. They want people to get to the stadium earlier. Obviously now you just go. You don't really hang out on the concourse and have a beer. I might do or used to if you get there like 10 minutes early, but you stay in the pubs, don't you? But they generally want people to go and get food there. They want people to go and have beers and have places to spend money to generate revenue. And of course, the new stadium itself, being a much bigger seater, would generate better revenue. I must say, it's kind of nice that Stamford Bridge will stay there on, Fulham Broadway. That's nice. I think that feels right. But it's going to get worse before it gets better in terms of having to redevelop and go elsewhere. Oh dear. All right, we are going to finish now on this article by Simon Johnson, so from the Bubaka to The Athletic, and an update on the not so happy Chelsea manager. One man. Right then, Simon Johnson of The Athletic has wrote the following. I'm going to fill in the blanks because I have my own ideas. We are nearly half a week from Enzo Maresca's sudden outburst following Chelsea's game over Everton, and it's still unclear exactly what caused it. Any hope that a 3-1 win over Cardiff City to progress to the Carabao Cup semi-finals would lighten Maresca's mood was soon quashed post-match. He did sound miserable, to be fair. 2 goals from Alejandro Garnacho and 1 from Pedro Neto ended the League One side resistance, but it did not put a stop to the drama of the last few days. After smiling during the post-match celebrations on the pitch in front of an away support, singing his name for the first time in several months. And that is most pertinent, gang. This is me talking, not Simon Johnson. They ages ago, when we were doing really, really well, they were singing his name and he was liking it. He's been called a W word before by the Chelsea fans, and of course, they can sing what they want. But I think they're reacting to knowing the hierarchy is they're not the most popular club structure in world football at Chelsea, even if they are bringing in good players and there's good elements, the Chelsea fans, they go to Stamford Bridge, they go home and away, they see the team playing and they see Enzo Maresca, often pulling in great results, and they want to back the manager, rightly so. So yeah, they were singing his name, he was sort of, blowing kisses, tapping the badge, and that's nice, and he was connecting with the fans, which is a nice thing generally, but also very smart from the Chelsea manager, because clearly there is turbulence inside the club, and he feels like he's probably in a position, he's trying to put himself in a position, this is me speculating, of course, a position of power, a negotiating position of power, and by going over, letting the fans sing his name, letting the headlines be like, the fans love Maresca, so ain't no bad thing, is it? So they sang his name for the first time in several months. The Italian looked ashen-faced during the debrief afterwards with the written media. He looked so glum. One journalist even asked him if he was genuinely happy about reaching the last 4. Maresca ended the inquisition by revealing he'd not spoken to any member of the sporting leadership team or owners since complaining, of course, about the worst 48 hours of his career at Stamford Bridge. I mean, do you believe that? I don't know. It just prompted more questions over what's going on with Maresca. In constructing this article, The Athletic have spoken to a number of sources who, unless otherwise noted, have asked to be kept anonymous in order to protect relationships. It's like drink whenever they say that line. So you remember what happens. I'm not going to go over it too much. He was asked about after the Malagusto question. He said the worst 48 hours ever. And then afterwards, the next press conference, he was asked about, he said, no, I'm not saying anything else. He basically doubled down and said, I'm not changing my mind. I'm not backing down. Was this a shock? The journalists in the room were not the only ones surprised by what they heard on Saturday afternoon. One Chelsea source speaking to The Athletic suggested Maresca had an emotional response to a win, but further conversations with Chelsea sources have revealed that those at the club genuinely did not see it coming. They suggested that nothing of note had happened over the previous days to suggest an outburst. But something has happened, clearly. So why did Maresca choose to make this statement? Well, this is a very good question, and one he has refused to answer so far. Maresca has made a point of keeping the reasons away from the public domain. Well, don't say it in the first place, mate. Do you know what I mean? According to Chelsea sources, they are not sure as the reasons why what he was referring to. Maresca has tried to insist the matter is closed. Clearly not, by the way, as far as he's concerned, but the speculation will continue. Maresca has been criticised by fans. Were they the focus of his art? I don't think so. No, not the fans, because of course he said the fans deserve the most, and of course they sang his name. And when asked by reporters so he asked on Monday if his relationship with the owners is good. He says, "I think so, yes." Are there any issues behind the scenes? Writes Johnson. The club are not acting any different, apparently, since when he was hired in June 2024. The structure is akin to Liverpool's in the strategy, including transfers being led by sporting directors. There's 5 in all at Stamford Bridge, but of course led by the two dynamic duo, if you will, Stewart and Winstanley. Maresca is kept in the loop on transfers, but his role, of course, is geared towards coaching. We know that he wanted a new centre-back in the summer after the Caldwell ACL. A player that he was not granted, and he was miserable about that for a while. Sort of said he wanted one, didn't he? And then sort of back down and says, we're just going to solve it internally, as in like the players that we got. But we know that's what he wanted. And of course, it's customary for Maresca to have a debrief with the sporting leadership team after matches. This is standard procedure where Chelsea win or lose. Chelsea always planned to conduct a review, of course, of Maresca at the end of this season, so the 2-year review. Could the load management policy, it talks about the rotation. I'm not sure. It could be that. Another question posed is, what else could be causing tension? Being the coach of Chelsea is a highly pressurised job, and after Maresca's achievements last season's, expectations from the fans have gone up. Yeah, qualifying for Champions League, of course winning the Conference League and the Club World Cup in the first campaign was good. Internally though, Chelsea have placed no demands on him to win the Premier League. Well, that's good. I mean, that'd be a pretty big jump, to be honest. The club's aim is to stay in the title race for longer and finish closer while qualifying for UCL. Chelsea also wanted to do well in the Cups. Yeah, which I think we're kind of doing now. And of course we play Charlton Athletic in the FA Cup. So it could be fun. What's the state of play with Maresca's contract? Well, he signed a deal till 2029, but there's a club option to extend it for an extra 12 months to take him to 2030. So the club are in a very strong position. And we know, of course, Maresca himself has changed agents just last October to join the gang of Jorge Mendes. Yes, so look, if you watch the old, I'm not going to speak about Keir Starmer because you should know better. If you watch what Maresca said, he looked friggin' miserable. He did. He's clearly not happy. He's just not happy. He's not happy. He says he's happy for the players. The players did well. I've got to watch He's basically like, now I'm going to just watch loads of Newcastle games on the 4-hour coach home. Basically, he's not happy. I don't know what else to tell you, because he could be like, yeah, don't worry, it's all sorted. We're doing well. I'm delighted with the boys. We're into the next round. Let's go. It's not that. It's, no, I've got to work. Yeah, you could tell he wanted to punch that journalist that was asking him to smile. Do you know what I mean? It was totally like, I wonder. There's definitely something going on. When he says he hasn't spoken to the owners, I reckon, or directors, maybe he's being truthful and he's deliberately saying that because he hasn't. He's like, one, they're coming to speak with me to like iron things out. I reckon he probably has, and he just doesn't want to stoke the fire. But it's certainly not harmonious, and that's just evident. And I think he wants us to know that. He wants us to know that from the initial comments. He wants us to know it from doubling down and not, diffusing them. And I think he wants us to know that just because of his demeanour yesterday and how he's asserting himself to the mainstream media at large. I don't think he wants to give them headlines anymore, and it does look like he's getting angry with them, but he's not doing himself favours if he wants a quiet life, so clearly he's angling for something here, and I wonder what it is. Hopefully in time we'll find out, but actually more hopefully it all fizzles out, everyone becomes happy, and we just win more football matches, because ultimately that is the target, ladies and gentlemen. But regardless, I'll thank you for joining me, as always, mate. Delighted to have you here. Thank you for continuing to support the content, for liking and subscribing, commenting and sharing on YouTube. And you're, of course, welcome to listen to this on podcast apps. And should you do so, please do give me a 5-star on Spotify. Let me just quickly, Football Therapy Podcast Spotify. I'm just searching this now. I want to see how many, that's not me. That's not me. That's not me. Why is there other podcasts called Football Therapy? Well, that's totally unacceptable, to be honest. I want to tell you how many 5 stars I've got before I stop recording. I'm going to look on my phone, because like all good podcasters, 262 5-star reviews. That's pretty good. Complete 5 stars. Not 4.9, not 4.8, 5 stars, 262. So thank you so much to all of you. If you are listening at this point and you're not on a podcast platform, just check it out on Spotify. I think you just got to listen to 30 seconds on it at the end and you can 5-star. Right, I've taken up enough of your time, but I've been very grateful for it. So I'll see you back here soon, hopefully. Take care of yourselves.